Ladies and gentlemen, I have a very special guest with me. If you're a fan of Pink Floyd, you may remember him from the music video Learning to Fly. He's an actor who has a very distinct baritone, and this baritone is often has had him cast as either villains or authoritarians. His line of work includes Nikita, the TV series, Gargoyles, the cartoon, Murder, She Wrote, and many, many more. When he's not playing villains, badasses, and authoritarians, you can actually catch him in his rock band Simple Damned Device. Though personally, I always remember him as the time traveling badass Cable. So please welcome Toronto's very own Lawrence Bayne.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Yes. How about yourself?
I'm good. I'm just trying to find you on camera now. Okay, hold on a second here. You seem to be already launched, but it's telling me to launch again. Do you see me now?
I do, very clearly.
Oh, right, there we are. Fantastic.
Awesome.
Technology, gotta love it.
But yes, so finally here. X-Men was one of my favourite cartoons as a child. It's something I grew up with, and getting to do this now, I've got to say it's an absolute pleasure. So I want to thank you first and foremost.
Glad. Thank you. This has come to light for me after attending a couple of Comic-Cons, just how deeply this stuff has touched people. When I was doing it 30 years ago, I had no idea of its import or that it would return, and no such a rabid following. It's surreal in a way, It's kind of neat.
I can't imagine for 1 second. Are we okay to start?
Sure, hit it.
Awesome. So I think I should start with Pink Floyd and learn how to fly.
Okay.
So my question would be, what are your memories on working on that, and how would you say it led to you becoming an actor and things like the X-Men?
Well, it was. I had just finished a couple of plays at the University of Toronto, and I was really trying to dig in and be an actor. So I did what any new actor does. I made up a bullshit resume, and I distributed it to talent agents all over Toronto. And I finally got a bite by one Margot Lane, who then proceeded to ignore me. Margot's gone now, and I'm not talking out of turn. I was just ballast for the talent tank there. She took me on, but she didn't know what to do with me. And then I got called by them for the first and only time on a Saturday morning, viciously hungover with my best friend. And they said there's a call for a music video, which didn't interest me at all, to be honest. A music video is a lot of standing around, and the whole business is, but music videos are especially tedious because, anyway. They want you at this auditions for a music video. It's for Pink Floyd. And I said, Pink Floyd out loud. And my friend perked up and went, you have to go. You have to go, right? And I went, oh, I have to go. So I went there, and literally 75 people in the waiting room. Kids, mothers, other native types like me, aviator types wearing aviator glasses. And it was just chaotic. It was a madhouse. It was the inside of my skull magnified 25 times as I sat there and waited. And then I got in, and there was about 25 people behind the table now making noise and ignoring me. So I did something really cheesy, but it worked. I'm a mime. I started off as a mime artist on the streets of Toronto for, cigarettes and joints and change and stuff. But so I leaned fake like this. I did a fake lean mime, and then I did a fake drink and looked at them and looked at my clock and did it again till somebody noticed. And it was Storm Thorgerson. Now, I don't know if you know Storm. Storm is the one who designed all those Yes albums. He's a graphic artist who went on to direct me in the video Learning to Fly.
Good gosh.
And Storm auditioned me by making me run down the hotel halls. I'm a terrible runner. And then he said, he handed me the keys to his hotel room and said, I want you to come in like it's your hotel room but then all of a sudden you see me. Now, I don't know what Storm expected. It was pretty fun. I went immediately, got in the room, immediately went to the bar fridge, poured myself a drink without looking at Storm at all, and then turned around and saw him, and I threw the empty bottle at his head. Now, it's a little plastic bottle like this, but I threw it at his head. And he loved it. And I was on a plane the next day. My first plane, I have to say that learning to fly was exactly that for me. I'd never been on a commercial plane before. So I'm on a commercial plane from Toronto to Calgary, where we film at Black Diamond and in the foothills of the Rockies. And then I'm in a biplane doing stunts over the wheat fields. That wasn't put in there, and CBS was very angry that I actually got in the plane because the shoot hadn't been done, and I could have crashed and died, and that would have cost them money, which would have been a tragedy. Tragedy if they lost money. So I did the video. It got released pretty much even before I got home, and it went apeshit. It really did. It was everywhere. People were talking to me. I went to a better agency and got a better agent, and I started working, man. And voice came around about 5 years in. I did a lot of television episodics, like La Femme Nikita, Strange Days at Blake Halsey High, the Amazing Jet Jackson. A lot of them were Disney. I wrote songs for Disney at that point. A couple of songs. I still get 10 cents credit on, or residuals on every now and then. And then I was sitting, as I will, in a pub, and I was holding court. I was being loud, talking to my friends, and somebody noticed, and their name was Kim, and she was a voice casting agent, and she said, "You should audition. You should use your voice." And I went up for my first audition, and with the horseshoes all intact, I got it. I got the first gig I ever went out for voice work. And then it was a 2-year storm of work. It was really fantastic. Awesome. And animation came in the middle of that. I mean, obviously voice is something that I was doing. And so, I had a reel together, and those reels get put in everybody's hands. And I was spotted by Dan Hennessy, Sydney Iwanter, and a few other people, and so they called me in to audition for Wolverine. And so there's Cal Dodd and I auditioning for Wolverine, and we're good pals, and that's a good thing. And it's not really a competition because no one comes in second in our fucking business. You come in first, or that's it. So Cal and I are good pals about it, but they string us along for about 2 weeks as to who's going to get it, because it was me and him, neck and neck. And now, Cal got it. Bless him. Excellent. I got other work. Probably actually more than him at times, because I was doing utilitarian voices too. I do utility voices. Still am for X-Men 97. I'm called into work on something, and I don't know what it is. And that's a trust in them that I can pull it out of my, pipes or so I'm very happy about that. Cal and I go back a long way, and then the next audition we were at was something called My Dad The Rockstar, which was produced by Gene Simmons of Kiss. And Gene Simmons of Kiss wanted to make a cartoon about his son's trepidation about being a rock star's son. And it's a very funny cartoon. It's very clean. It's nothing like a rock star excess. I mean, I tried to say, "Ooh, crabs," again, and I didn't like it. I said, "Ooh, crabs," because there were real crabs in the boat in the scene. But I said crabs again, and they went, "No, you can't say that." Anyway. So I got that part, and man, I think Cal really wanted that one, because he went in and sang for them. You could hear him sing and sang. He's an amazing singer. He's a jazz blues vocalist. I'm a rock vocalist, and so he was in there singing and doing his best Robert Plant. And I thought, you bastard, that's a trump card, because the guy's a rock star. He's got to sing, right? And I know I can sing, but like I don't know if I can be as brash as Cal and pull out a voice. So I choose not to. I just choose to go in there and be the raucous voice that I think this guy has. I mean, he's just always loud. Come on, Willie, let's rock. And 58 episodes of it every week for a year. It's great. And but I got it, and then I said, "So what about the singing? What about the rock star? Is he going to sing some rock songs?" Oh, we'll get somebody for that. I said, "No, you're not getting Cal Dodd for that. You're getting me. Now, I don't know if they were going to get Cal or not, because there's lots of great singers in the biz who do that kind of work, right? But he was current in my mind and in theirs. Go, oh, no, we wouldn't. No. And I said, then I want to audition. So Gene hired a guitarist, all multi-purpose instrumentalist with a drum machine and everything else to come in. And I sang rock and roll all night and party every day and something of my own. I said, do something in G, 4/4, bang, 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 and sang a bit more for him. And I bagged that. And that was the big victory for me pretty much after X-Men. That was the next all-consuming work. So how did I get to cable? Cable was handed to me. Dan Hennessy said, you're going to read for this. I said, clear me up on that. Am I reading for it? Or am I reading it? He goes, you're reading it. It's your part. I want to hear what you're doing with it. So I look at Cable, the behemoth, the huge guy, and also see one picture of him. He's got a baby strapped to his chest, and I'm just trying to figure out this guy. I'm trying to figure this guy out a little. I learned he's not a mutant. I hear he is a mutant. I hear, on chat boards, as they used to be called, kids going back and forth on it, and I don't get involved because I don't know anything. I have to go learn this stuff. So I start to read, well, where'd you go? Where are you going with that? You got this, and I'm growling, and I'm forcing it. And Dan Hennessy says, "Don't force it. Speak in your baritone. Speak as low as you want. We'll pick it up on the mic. Here, I got this off one of those Genosian goons. I thought you might need it." And a cable is born.
Yeah.
So I was very happy with that, and cable led to me also doing Eric the Red and Captain America and Corsair and a lot of other voices on it. So it's a nice trip.
Without doubt. I mean, to be honest, I've got to admit, like the first time I heard that voice, for Cable, what can I say? Like, if I had a Mount Rushmore for baritone, it would be Keith David, Ron Perlman, and yourself. That's how much you impressed me.
And Iggy Pop.
Oh yes,
who I have spoken with at length, and he just shakes your teeth, man. Teeth in your head with that baritone. Iggy came into the Franz restaurant, which is a 24-hour eatery in Toronto at College and Yonge, which is right downtown. He'd just done a gig up the street at the Masonic Temple. Well, not just, because I was there at 2 in the morning, and I was in good shape. 2 in the morning, eating in Franz, not knowing that I'm getting most of it on my shoes. And then in comes Iggy, and I look at him. I go, "Holy Christ, that's Iggy Pop! It's Iggy Pop! Holy shit!" And 2 girls come in behind him, and they're like giggling, and his whole attitude is like, "Fuck!" He wants to get away from them. So I did something really stupid and bold. I went, "Hey, man, over here!" And he came over and he sat down. He goes, "Thanks, man. That was really helping me out, man. Thank you." And I'm trying to understand him because it's late. My ears are ringing, and this guy's he is scraping the bottom off the barrel of the voice. It's fantastic. And he's just sung for 3 hours too. And he's still got a baritone. A baritone is the first thing you'll lose if your voice is strained. Oh. So it was great. And so I talked to Iggy, and I've been trying to do Iggy ever since. He's the baritone, man. And I appreciate the company you put me in. Not to say that I don't, but listen to Iggy for 2 hours, 3 hours. It's like, wow.
Clearly, like the life of a rock star, without doubt. That's something to put
fun stuff, man.
I do have to mention, getting back to Cable, he was one of my favourite characters, and one of the things that I liked about Cable was that in the show, he was an anti-hero in the sense of he was definitely a good guy, but because he was a time traveller and because he had to preserve his timeline, he had to do questionable things in order to preserve that. And
he didn't color in the lines. Yep, and he knew what the lines were, and he didn't color within them, but he made the picture good. That's the end of it. I mean, it's results. I think are what matter to Cable, and maybe a little bit of pig-headedness in this world was a good thing.
Definitely
results.
I think my favourite line from Cable, it's from Time Fugitives, which I'll talk about in just a second, but it's one of those where Cable goes to the courthouse, one of the Friends of Humanity try to attack him. He just go, "Next time, try stealing candy from a baby."
Man. Next time, try stealing candy from a baby. He got the greatest lines, man, and all I had to do was say them. That was the best part, because whenever I started acting, Sydney or Dan would go acting, so I just had to talk, and it was a bit rough, man, because he's an action character. He's running around, he's doing all this stuff, and I'm getting the demand that he stays zen, pretty much.
Yeah.
So, and I always thought about the baby on his chest too. I'd be going, this is a guy who's like got some morals and values. It's just that he's taking a hard turn from some people and some mutants, and it's he bears some scars there, man.
He does. He does. When we talk about X-Men, you'd already mentioned that you were friends with Cal Dodd.
Yeah.
I also talked to George Buza about the Legends of Sinbad.
The Beast, yes, and us in South Africa, 4 months after apartheid fell. Okay, it was 4 months after apartheid fell. We were in South Africa filming, because the film industry was already open. It was already open there, so I think they were just opening it a bit more. But yeah, a month and a half down there, and just a party atmosphere the entire time. It was very wonderful. There was some strange quirks and things. I mean, the shanty towns still sort of were out there, but they were moving towards the cities now that they were, maybe going to be allowed to have some commerce and be treated like human beings. And but they were burning anything to stay warm at night, and it was just really rough, because we had to, I don't know, I'm complaining because I wasn't the one staying cold, but our transportation vehicles had to be sealed off with duct tape at every possible vent, because the air was making us pass out.
Gosh.
The air was just so fetid. They were burning tires, man, and plastiform and anything to stay warm, and it was rough on everybody. I mean, it was especially rough on them. But it was an interesting place to be with its history. You could see that most people were into it, and of course, I didn't expect it, but obviously the oldest of the people weren't into it, which led to a wonderful little encounter one day. We were filming on the dock and on the ship, because the ship stayed still. That thing couldn't float if you no chance. But we were filming on the ship, and we noticed that these three old ladies would come down, and they'd sit their little foldable deck chairs on the pier, and they'd knit, and they'd be quiet, and they'd watch the action, because we'd be swinging from rafters and stuff like that. So they were there all day. And then we went up to talk to them, because they were grinning, and I said, how you like it? Oh, this is so exciting watching you, dear. And I'm not going to do a South African accent for you, but it's so lovely watching you, dear. And I said, yes. And this is me talking. I said, yes. And you must be really sort of celebrating, the progress and changes that are going on all around you. She said, well, dear, it hasn't been the same since they let the Kafirs go free.
Oh, yeah.
And like, I went, oh my God, really? I said, you're 98. The best thing about you right now is you're going to be dead soon. Yeah. That's what I said to her. I could have pushed her in the water, but I would have got charged. But even some people were going, you just yelled into an old lady's face, she's going to be dead soon. I went, yeah, that's my hope. Because that shit, that poison, got to stop. Absolutely. And you're only going to kill it. You're not going to maim it. What you'll do, and what's going to happen in the USA, because he unearthed all that filth that lies underneath the veneer of civilization, it's not going back in. No. It's out here now. You can put Kamala in the White House. You can do whatever you want, but that shit's been unearthed. And for years and years and years, mankind as a species has tried to bury its uglier things and give a veneer of civilization, even though a lot of it is happenstance and false. We don't walk around like open nerves like they got down there in the southern states. It's a horrendous situation. So looking back at apartheid, which was a world horrendous situation that the world needed to notice, finally did. Things are better there. They're not the greatest, but they are better. But things in America and Canada, because we're getting a lot of people up here pretending that our next Prime Minister Pierre Poilievre or whatever, is kind of like Trump. So they're you know, to me, politics is like an Ouroboros, man. It's a snake eating its tail, and I can't talk about it too long without just wanting to throw my hands up and go, "Good luck, fuckers. See ya."
Nice to have us. I think one thing to remember from the Legends of Sinbad is you offering to tell one of the crew members to look into your toys, which are down below in your trunk.
Now that's an exceedingly British mind there with that humor. I love it. I love it. Well, one of the best things about that shoot was that we all went out after a really good, long, successful day, not knowing that we had another long day the next day. And we got shit-faced drunk. Everybody, jugglers, all the extras were there, special talent people who could do things like breathe fire and juggle balls and contort. Well, they couldn't do any of it the next day because they were so hungover they couldn't do it. I was blamed because I was leading the karaoke singing and you know, festivities. But I mean, come on, that wasn't my fault. They were the crew. I thought they were tough. And then meanwhile, they're all in corners under 100-degree heat, throwing up in corners and passing out. And I'm working, sir. I have green makeup on and I'm ready to work.
Yes. I mean, I must admit, like I said, I've watched Legends of Sinbad and I love it. And getting back to what I was saying with George, and I didn't realize that you and him were friends. And something that, and I hope I've got this right, George had mentioned that a lot of the cast of X-Men, because you were Toronto locals, you knew each other before the actual show. So my question would be, would you say that knowing people before that really helps that dynamic and that chemistry into X-Men and the cast?
Well, you know what brings it in or like really nails it down is when you are hired. I mean, you don't know who else you're getting hired with. Camaraderie occurs or it doesn't. But back in the day, we used to record these things ensemble style in the studio. So it'd be 8 mics set up, all facing each other, you know, in a semicircle. Happened in Gargoyles in LA too. But they had nice, comfortable chairs for us. And I sat beside master voice Frank Welker. Anyway, getting back to why X-Men worked. It's because we could see each other. It's because we see each other, and we were all doing incredibly different voices, and we were all doing what we thought, and you know, it was a bit of a high camp cartoon anyway. You know, I mean, it was a brand new animal. I mean, for everybody. We discovered that later, that in X-Men nobody wanted it, and all of a sudden we were doing it. We could see each other. We could smoke in the studio. That's right, we could smoke in the studio, and some assholes actually did, but I didn't. There was all of us there, and we were all fun to work with anyway. All the guys in voice. That's the thing about the voice industry. There's no sniping there at all. There's no backstabbing or, you know, petty bullshit. It doesn't last long if somebody does bring that stuff to the table. But one of the friendliest audition rooms you can be in is a voice audition room, because we love each other, man. You know, we're there for our thing. If they like our thing, we're happy, and we're happy if you get it for your thing. And then, like I said, and I've taken this over into acting too. I used to be all nervous as shit in an acting room, waiting to audition for on camera and stuff like that. And then I just took that sensibility from voice to it, going, I don't have anything against these people. I know I don't look like him. You know, I know he doesn't look like me. It's all a dime in the air, and who's going to get it anyway? You don't get hired for your talent sometimes. You get hired for your fucking height. You know, like these are facts. You know, so I don't walk around with too much of this. It's garbage in, garbage out, man. If you go to an audition and then you hang on to it in your head for like 3 days, you just make yourself ill. You just make yourself sleepless, you know. Wipe that shit off and go do some more stuff. You know, auditions are coming in, and there'll be more, and, you know, keep going. And voice work paid out very nicely for me, but I've known quite a drought. You know, in about 3 to 5 years ago, there was about a 5-year period where couldn't get touched.
Gosh.
Just finished a Law and Order episode, Law and Order Toronto, Criminal Intent, where I played a judge.
Nice.
It's great. I loved it.
Yeah.
Voice is great, man. Voice is great if you're a good reader. You have to be able to read well, or you have to, if you can't read well, and I've never seen anybody do this, but you have to learn the lines. But because you can read it there, and every one of these people in that room are fantastic actors on top of their voice. So that was no problem. We had a riot with it, man. We had a riot with it. We wanted it to go on and on. It was great. And when it came back, we're sitting in the back of the Toronto Comic Con watching the first episode with the fans, and we're behind them, watching them watch us, basically. And we all got lumps in our throats. We're all, oh my God, this is so crazy. It's 35 years later, and these people love us. It's like amazing. It's great work. It's gratifying.
Awesome. I'm glad, like I said, absolutely loved it as a child, and like I said, I'm happy. I'm more than happy that it meant something to all the cast as well, and that's what I've got from speaking with all of them individually. Like,
Sure.
Can you remember much about Time Fugitives?
Which what?
Time Fugitives, the episodes. It was a two-parter.
No, I cannot remember. I cannot remember, sir. I mean, I don't even have a TV right now to go on Disney Channel. But I did research some of this stuff, because when the Comic Cons came on, I didn't want to sit there and, not be involved. But you have to remember that voice sessions lasted an hour, and sometimes I lasted half that. I was in and out of there all the time in 20 minutes doing that work once it was set up that I was going to do it. And I don't recall a lot of it,
No worries. I think previously on X-Men,
Yeah.
so the episode Time Fugitives, it was where Apocalypse, played by the excellent John Colicos, he'd concocted a virus that was deadly to mutants. It was like the equivalent of the AIDS virus to mutants. Yeah. And in order for Cable to preserve his timeline, he had to go back, set all of that right, and in the process as well, possibly kill Bishop in cold blood in order to achieve that. And it also had one of, I think, the most important fights. Who out of you and Cal Dodd could outsnark the other? So I guess, and something I find very interesting about that is this was before COVID. Yeah. And then obviously, when we get into like 2019, obviously COVID happened. I remember watching that episode during COVID, and I think it's one of those that something that I liked specifically about the episode was it dealt with the butterfly effect of time travel. That's something that you might do that is good, considered good, might be detrimental to other people in the long run. And
it's the time travel things. It's that old story, right? I mean, I can't remember the parameters of the story, but you go back and there's a woman, she's got 9 kids, and they're sick and they're dying, and they're they're this and they're that and they're this and they're that, and what do you do? Which child do you thin out the herd with, and how do you do that? And the minute you kill one of them, you find out it's Beethoven's family, right? The argument of going back in time, killing Hitler. Could have had horrendous, problems elsewhere if that had occurred. But I get the sentiment. You have to wonder if you had the power to time travel, what kind of moral basis would you have anyway?
Yeah.
Because you can correct anything, you can go back and fuck somebody up. And I don't know that beyond certain people with powers that human beings should have that ability. Maybe mutants, but no, not the apes I know. I don't think they should have that power.
No. And of course, something that I liked as well was the fact that as a child, you're learning stuff about like antibodies and how they work, and
Yeah,
um,
yeah,
yeah,
fascinating show. Show gave a lot of good information out at the same time. I
yeah,
was surprised. I was surprised that it walked that line so well between entertainment and actually, giving kids head a shake.
yeah.
Good.
I do have to say, with all the Time Fugitives, obviously you worked with John Colicos, Apocalypse, and
Yeah.
his voice was amazing because he played it like a Shakespearean villain, but I think it was important that he did play it like that.
Yeah.
So I do need to ask, what are your memories on working with John Colicos and Cal Dodd, for that
I
matter?
can tell you my memories on drinking with John Colicos. Are you kidding?
Yeah,
John's
far
got
away.
a plaque. John's got a plaque at the a bar called the Popper down in Toronto. He's got a plaque where he used to sit, and I go in and kiss the plaque and sit down, and because John and I used to have a couple of drinks there every now and then. Of course, he played it like a Shakespeare actor because that's what he was. I mean, in his heart of hearts, the bard was it for him. Um, Always on stage, when not often, going down and getting into nice juicy roles in Hollywood. I mean, The Postman Always Rings Twice is so fantastic, and he is just he's an amazing actor. And that voice, yes, I mean, I've been trying to ape that voice forever. Him, Iggy Pop, and August Schellenberg are my favorite voices to do. You have to find August Schellenberg in the original animated rock cartoon Heavy Metal. Augie was in Blackrobe with me as well. August Schellenberg was my spiritual father. His Mohawk and Swiss. I am Cree and Icelandic, but we've been in like 10 projects together, and we're family. And Augie died a while ago, and I still feel him. But Colicos, yes, Colicos, corrosive Colicos, nasty Colicos, fun Colicos. I love John. He was great.
Yes, without doubt. I do need to ask, as I was looking through you, well, there was one thing I need to start with. Obviously, you're in the band Simple Damn Device. Excellent name.
The band is in hiatus right now.
Oh,
We haven't been on up and around for like 2 years. I still play out with Kevin, the guitarist, and write songs, and still got 70 unfinished, unproduced songs that I did with Simple Damn Device.
hmm
And I can send you one by email, a rough copy, if you want to hear what else I do. But Rock and Roll Man is great, but it's my friend Tim, who's a drummer, and always takes his medicine well because he's a drummer. He said that getting musicians together to do anything is like herding cats, and that is right. Cats are hard to get together, and musicians are harder. And there's no place to play in Toronto anymore for any kind of money, and that's a drag. They started scamming us and going, "Oh, if you buy 10,000 tickets to yourself, you can use this place, and then we'll take half the ticket price." And never mind. Rock and roll is a sort of point, but a lovely point. I love it, but it does frustrate me.
Mhm. And I think one of the questions I was about to ask with that, how did you find balancing? Because obviously you're still very, you're still acting. Uh, you're doing voiceovers, acting, and then of course you're doing the band. How were you able to balance that?
Oh, it's dead easy. I mean, the band is on weekends, and other work isn't. Other
That
work
is,
isn't. I mean, that's seriously what we were doing. I mean, when we were playing, we were playing Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights. Maybe we would only rehearse on the weekend, generally, with a barbecue, and we would. And voice work doesn't require anything but my presence. And it's like I said, I would be there in sessions that were booked for 4 hours. I'm done in an hour or less. So it really doesn't take up a lot of time. Acting takes up the most time, but it's coming and you're scheduling around it. The minute you get an acting gig, all other time and shit stops. so that you can get there on time, so that you have enough, you can allot enough time towards, working on your craft. So, no, there's not going to be any singing with the band, but there generally wasn't anyway. I mean, I don't study on the weekends. I study in the middle of the night. I study at, dawn. I don't have a sleep schedule that matches any human I know. I just sleep when I sleep, and I work when I work. And because COVID brought it all under our roof, I have somebody that reads with me for the on-camera stuff, and the camera studio set up. What you're looking at behind here is often where I'll just sit and do voice work. So it doesn't take up much time. I mean, and I'm not screamingly busy, but even when I was busy, it's pretty easy to do, man. It's a different paddle altogether. You're still doing the work, but it's a different paddle. You can fit it in, and if you can't, better learn.
There was something else that you've mentioned about some of the roles that you've had. I think one of them was also, and that an actor's made it like a rites of passage when you're in Murder, She Wrote.
Really? Because I thought that's where they put old actors to die. There were a lot of old actors doing shots on that show. And I mean, I was with Bo Svensson on my episode, and I sat and talked to Bo, and the best thing he said to me, he said, the older you get, the less you show it. Don't ever let them know you're weak. Oh, that's Bo Svensson. No, I did okay by that, but I didn't audition for that. That was a reel that was sent around, and Angela Landsbury saw it and said, yeah, him. She cast me. Like, it wasn't even a casting agent. It was her looking at stuff. She was looking for the characters in Simpatico with her. They have a lot of, on camera and on screen chemistry. So she wanted somebody, long hair, good looking, young. She was fun. She was a lot of fun. Her husband directed, and I guess that gave her the certain rights because she's the executive producer. But we were sitting there while they were cleaning up a section of the field we were going to walk in. We're in the Malibu Canyon, and the snakers are out there getting the snakes out of the way so we can do a walk from here to a warehouse. And it's taking a while. And she says to her son, Patrick, he says, Patrick, how much fucking longer am I going to sit here? And it was like everything started to move just a little faster because Angela just dropped the F-bomb, man. And I just loved her. And on our final scene, we're in a mock-up of a general store, but we're back at Universal Studios or wherever the studios are. We're back at the studio, and we're in the mock-up of a general store in the country. And we're coming to the denouement. We've solved it. She likes to do it in order, right? Angela doesn't. She likes to work in chronological order with the script, and because it keeps it in her head. And cue cards are everywhere behind me because Angela can't learn these things, but she can read a cue card like nobody's business. Like, I mean, you don't know. You don't know. She's got the whole thing written down, and she's reading it because she's acting her unbelievable heart out. She's only been acting since 1918. I think she's got it down, And so we finished the denouement, and that's how it happened, Mr. Creech, she says to me. And I went, well, nothing to do but dance our way out of here. And I grabbed her like this, and she grabbed me back, and we tangoed off the set. And that was my idea. And she didn't fire me, and she loved me for it. So it was great.
It's one of those. I mean, I think, when people look at stuff like in your past, like I said, I think the main things that will come up are meeting Iggy Pop and dancing with Angela Lansbury.
Oh, I danced with Jane Fonda, too.
Oh.
Jane Fonda produced a movie called Lakota Woman, Siege at Wounded Knee, where I portrayed a real life, now gone, activist for the American Indian movement, Russell Means. He was one of the co-founders of it, and I got to play him. And Augie Schellenberg was in that as well. I had a point there to bring that up, but yeah. So Jane Fonda produced it. She produced the picture and was followed around again by the FBI in Rapid City in little black vans with dishes turned on the top of them. Ridiculous, man, ridiculous. We're making a movie. But we're making a movie about the American Indian movement, and that's what drew the attention, because the American Indian movement was the first ever terrorist group recognized as a domestic terrorist group in the United States. So they were on all the radar, and I'm playing the guy who co-founded them. So I took a little hassle as well, going through the airport, going back to Toronto, going back to Canada. Where are you coming from? Rapid City. I was there doing a movie. Yeah, what movie was that? Siege at Wounded Knee. Oh, that was about those guys that killed the FBI guys, right? And like they're totally siding with them. And I went, yeah, I don't know about that. I didn't kill any FBI guys. I just made a movie.
Yeah.
Can I go now? You know, not big on the United States, sorry, but you know that was that. So and then at the rap party, Jane Fonda did a speech, and I went over and asked her to dance, and we had a slow dance around the floor. It was a lot of fun. She was great, man. She was great. She talked to everybody. Everyone was treated well. And she thought she was making an important picture, and it was important enough, I guess, because it garnered some awards, including one for me. I got Best Supporting Actor.
Oh, that's fantastic.
From the American First Americans of the Arts. It was our own sort of Oscar presentation, but it was in L.A. and it was at the same place they held the Oscars a couple of times in the early days. So it was pretty damn glamorous.
So would you say that that's in your career? Would you say that's one of the ones that you're most proud of?
I'm proud of Blackrobe, mostly. Okay. It was the first big picture I did, but I'm also proud of the storyline. It's more genuine than anything I've done since in regards to Indigenous people, other than the stuff that has been straight documentary take. I mean, I've done 2 different films about the siege at Oka. The Oka crisis, and I've played chiefs. I played Chief Joseph Brent twice, but some of the writing, there's a lot more Indigenous writers writing now, but there wasn't for a while. I did a couple of films that were produced out of Germany that were just hilarious, in as much as how much they revered the native person. No, they deified us. And I found that equally ridiculous in a way. Like, could you stop? We're just trying to get along in the world, Please don't deify us. Absolutely. But best thing that ever happened, probably Blackrobe. Most fun thing that ever happened was the amazing Jet Jackson. I got picked I was on La Femme Nikita, which is it's a very talky show in terms of spy garbage. They say spy garble a lot. 715 X5 and go to quadrant 4 and like it just does not sit. But I got it down, and so I was doing it, and because they were asking me to go on and on, the director said, "Okay, listen, we're gonna pan away from you, but we're still gonna hear your voice. So keep talking, just make stuff up." And I'm like, I'm making all this stuff up because I can't memorize it. So the camera pans off me. I said, and then we'll call in the outer factor regions. We'll set them up at various key points, and then we will break free and send in the crack smoking leprechauns on unicycles. And I cracked up the cast, and I cracked up the producer, Jamie Paul Rock, and he gave me a part on the comedian as a daffy sort of crazy inventor, Dr Hypnoto. He had hypnotic powers. They weren't very good. He wore purple suits and 8-inch platform shoes, and he was a cross between Paul Lynde and Sam Kinison. and I made him up on the spot because I didn't know what I was doing. Jamie said, "You're hired." My agent said, "You're hired. You got to go down here. You're playing a guy called Dr Hypnoto. It's a kid's show." That's all I got. Okay. Jamie Paul, definitely go. I get down there, and there's this purple, tinsely, unbelievable suit. And I have to put it on to see what's going on. And then I look over, and there's a pair of platform shoes with heels like this. And I got to put them on because I haven't worn those since I was 15. You know what I mean? I used to wear them all the time. I wore platform shoes. I admit it. And I got on the platform shoes, and I got into the purple suit and started walking around outside. And he just started to become a yeller and a screamer. What? what? And then he was Paul Lynde. He was very uptight, and he had a son, and he was constantly going to the son to shut up. Yeah, hey, tell the kid to shut up. And I enjoyed that a lot because that was a character I was allowed to build from the ground up. I was never directed once, other than, can you just say it a bit different? But I was never directed on the character, and he was crazy. It was the craziest character I ever made, and it was on camera too, so I was very proud of it. So you can look that up because that's fun to watch. There's a couple of clips of me berating my son and otherwise being an evil genius.
Absolutely. I think we're coming to the end in a little bit, but I do want to ask, is there any roles that you didn't go for that in hindsight you wish you had?
Nope. There's roles I went for and that in hindsight I wish I'd gotten. There's nothing I didn't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't turned down anything there where I went, oh, and then seen it and went, oh, geez, I shit the bed by not doing that. No, I sometimes depends. If it jumps off the page, it's great. But I'm also challenged by something that sits there like a dead fish, and I have to fucking animate it somehow, get it going, find an into this, superficial prototypical, or the types of villains that I do, man, are like 1 to 5, and that's it. Villains are fun though because they don't have a moral center, so they can do whatever the fuck they want, and they can regret it later. Good guys do something wrong, they have to regret it immediately because, oh no, it'll affect somebody. I don't. I'm a bad guy. I'll fucking light the world up and figure out how to put it out later. I love that about villains.
Yeah. Yes. It's I need to put a suggestion, for roles. Obviously, you're still in with Disney, the mouse.
I'm still in with the Mighty Mouse, the mouse that roars. Yeah. Yes.
A role that I think you would be perfect for in one of the shows, Mandalorian. It's about bounty hunters. You've got that baritone voice. I reckon you could be like one of those veteran bounty hunters. I think.
Love to be, man. I'd love to be. There's just there's a little border dispute with actors between Canada and the States. It used to be a nicer border, and now it's a little more locked down. Now we're wondering if we're even auditioning and if our auditions are even being seen. There are actors wondering that. I haven't entered into the paranoid stage yet. I seem to be doing okay, but apparently the idea of auditioning for an American thing up here, apparently nobody gets those parts from Canada. So,
gosh,
I don't know if it's completely true. I do know that favoritism in the past has led to some hassles, but I'd love to do The Mandalorian. I'd love to do any number of things. I mean, what am I watching right now? I mean, I played a million bikers. I would have loved to have been Sons of Anarchy, you know? And I know Kim Coates. And, he had a riot with that stuff. It's fun to do that stuff. Hold on just a second. Okay. Got a speaker that's dying there. Okay.
No worries. And I think it's funny when you mentioned Sons of Anarchy. Like, I would have loved to have seen you have a scene from Pullman.
Yeah.
In fact, that's on my bucket list.
Yeah. I Mr. Perlman is a talented fella. There's nothing he's been in that I haven't loved. I mean, he's a consummate actor, and he's a specialty. Yeah. Only Ron Perlman looks like Ron Perlman.
Yes. Well, Lawrence, I must say it's been an absolute pleasure. Before we wrap up, is there any projects that you'd like to promote? Any upcoming things?
Man, I would love to promote them, but I cannot.
Okay.
I am under 2 different contracts to keep my mouth shut. One's for a video game, one's for animation. That's about all I can tell you. And that's it. That's all I can tell you. I get a 90-page script these days and a 250-page non-disclosure agreement. So it's basically, apparently, what we're doing now is so very important that spies are going to take our cartoons back behind some curtain, some iron curtain somewhere, and badly manufacture them or glean our deepest secrets from them. And we must be vigilant, sir. We must be vigilant.
Fair dues. Honestly, like, this is, I can't tell you how much this has meant. Thank you for getting in touch with me. And
My pleasure, man.
yes, and I hope to see more of you in X-Men 97 in some form or another.
I'm coming up. I'm doing something. Can't tell you. I mean, I can tell you that I'm X-Men 97 because I've done 2 parts of it already. The second one I've done outside of Executioner, I can't tell you about. And
Okay.
I'm going to do a third one that I can't tell you about just yet. But I'm all over X-Men 97, man. So, you know, it's fun to be back.
It's good to have you back.
Yeah. Thank you for this, man. I appreciate it.
You
To
too.
all your wild fan base out there, love you. Stay in school. Don't do drugs. And I'll see you around.
See you around. Take care.